emergency meeting being convened at PGMOL. They need to decide, should set-piece goals still count? This is the ArsenalVision Post-Match Podcast. My name's Elliot. You can block me on Twitter, Yankee Gunner. Liverpool falling victim to them. Arsenal still scoring them. It's got to be rooted out of football. We are all hashtag against modern football, as I'm sure you are. And this modern football, this nonsense, woke nonsense modern football of scoring from set pieces, it cannot be allowed. Maybe they just make them worth half. The problem then is we still would have won 0-0. So we'll figure it out. I'm sure PGMOL will get to the bottom of it. But meanwhile, we are here to discuss Arsenal 1, Fulham 0. A wonderful weekend of football. Could have done with City not winning, but a beautiful set of hate watches on Sunday with Spurs and Liverpool losing. And I did love Arne Slot's post-match press conference where he said they should have blown the whistle before United's first goal because Liverpool don't cheat and they don't go down easily. So the ref should know that if a Liverpool player is down, they're not doing it to break up a counterattack. They're doing it honestly. So I appreciate that. Source, as one guy shared with me, trust me, bro. Yeah, I mean, we'll be covering all of that and more today. This is a power rankings week, if ever there was one, at the ArsenalVision Podcast. So over on Patreon, we'll hit some power rankings. We had the instant reaction yesterday. Tim's voice note from the ground, as ever, was great. And there's this really cool moment because Clive mentioned something, having not heard Tim's voice note. And then Tim said it in the voice note. And it's just so simpatico, so beautiful. The connection of ball knowers through the universe, just across the ether. It was a beautiful thing to witness in real time. We had Friday Night Clive on Friday. We'll probably have another one this Friday. We'll have an instant reaction tomorrow after Arsenal beat Atleti in the Champions League. So all of that is happening. And I would just say I'm getting more and more and more messages from people being like, you know what, I'm kind of dropping out of social media. We're going to work on doing more in-person things. But if you would give us a 5-star review, that's how people find the pod. If you would tell a friend, hey, there's this ArsenalVision podcast. It's not very good, but you should listen to it just to be nice. Like that would be great. We'd really appreciate it and foster community among people that include ball knowers and non-ball knowers alike, just like the panel on this podcast. So we have Clive. Hello, Clive.
Hello.
And Paul. Hello, Paz. Nope.
Woohoo!
What? Why? Why the delayed reaction?
Well, I clicked it and then it didn't do anything, so I clicked it again. But then it did something just as I was clicking it. All
right, position yourself at least in the middle of the camera. Let's get something right. We're 2 minutes and 44 seconds into recording. It's already completely off the rails, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. I do want to ask you though, Paul. Do you have a solution for how much set piece goals should count? Just to eliminate. What if it's you get 1 goal for every 2 set piece goals you score?
Yeah, it's quite interesting listening to the discourse change based on results of us, other teams. Now everybody's talking, like Arne Slot is explaining how last season they did well because they had wonder goals for the first half of the season and they seem to have dried up, and they had set pieces for the second half of the season, and now he doesn't have any set pieces and he doesn't have any wonder goals. So things are kind of tough. I'm like,
yeah.
And you listen to all the discourse on other teams and how they're and it's all about, well, they don't have their set piece goals and yada yada yada. It's things flip very quickly when something works and is successful and other teams are not.
Speaking of things flipping, you shared with me a link to Sky Sports studio show from Super Sunday with Roy Keane and the crew talking about how Liverpool should have just been sensible and held on for a draw against United.
And that there's nothing wrong with taking a point and don't turn your nose up at a point. And I'm like,
how
really?
The turntables, yeah. Clive, look, I want to get into lineup performance. The Bukayo Saka conversation is going to be a huge part of this. But before that, maybe just from a macro standpoint, it feels really good right now. And this weekend with Liverpool clearly having issues to resolve and Arsenal just looking so resolute and professional, we're setting things right. Mikel talked about that pre-match press conference, right? The West Ham game at home, a game we'd lost. The Newcastle game away, a game we lost. Fulham away, a fixture that's caused us problems. And we're ticking off these boxes of wrongs that we're righting. And just at the moment, the football feels very serene. The situation feels serene. And we still have a lot of good players to come back. So what's your sort of macro take on how you're feeling about this weekend, the football, and the way we're sort of righting a lot of wrongs at the moment?
Yeah, we are, and it's quite clear that what the team talks are almost. You can almost picture them beforehand versus last season, where you want to just think backwards to think forwards. I look at the football, and what I do see is a group of players that are really good at correcting errors of others, and you see that collective spirit, particularly off the ball. It's really great to just improve things. A couple of instances in the game that really stood out to me. When Calafiori was caught up the field late in the game and Harry Wilson had a volley, Calafiori dives in just to get a half block in, so he has to go over the bar. Now, he could have not worked back, but he worked all the way back. He was last man in and made a key contribution. Leandro Trossard, someone who I criticised for his back-to-goal play, not being strong enough, held off Raul massively a couple of times to protect the ball, to buy a foul, to break up play. As somebody put his body on the line at something he's not good at, and that's not his strength. I look at these things, I just see lessons being learned everywhere, and I see it's something we've spoken about on here. I saw it really close against Forest. We're all serious Arsenal people, right? We live it, we breathe it. Every single message that comes out, we analyse it. Every game, we go through it for hours.
Mm-hmm.
And we like to feel that we care more than anybody else. And when I say we are, air quotes, we all care, right? Then you see the players, and then you see the manager, and you're up close, and you think, bloody hell, they really care. Do you know what I mean? You didn't relax, boys. You didn't relax. They're obviously, and I've said this a few times now, I've said this a few times, but it's really struck me this year. It was particularly close up. When you go close up and you watch them, you go through their actions, and it's all on for them. It really means something. And I feel that at this moment in time, we look like that team that's really, really wants it, not hopes to compete for it. They really want it. And I think it's a big difference.
Yeah. There's no relax in Mikel Arteta, just to be clear. It's not in his DNA. But and it is a lovely thing to come away with a 1-0 victory. Of course, you'd like to score more goals and have games be more exciting, but I think there's something to be said about having the floor of knowing you can keep the opposition out, right? Because it means on the day when the passes go a bit askew and askance and when the shots aren't finding the back of the net, that we can keep this at 0 and our moment's going to come. And that's why the set pieces are so good too, because there are games where it just doesn't feel like a goal is coming sometimes, and you say, where's it going to come from? Where's it going to come from? And having that set piece option gives you that belief that if we keep this 0, we get a corner, we get a throw, we're going to be able to do something. So I think it keeps the floor of your performance very, very high right now. Whereas if you're a team more like a Liverpool, for example, that are having trouble closing the back door, no matter how well you feel like you're playing, you always feel like the trap door could come out from under you. We experienced that a bit under Arsene Wenger. Sometimes there'd be days you play so beautifully. And it was that feeling, the feeling I'm talking about where you're like, we're dominating. But if we don't take our chances, we know we're going to get chinned. And I think this team doesn't have that glass jaw, and that really helps add some serenity into these games and gives you a chance to go get something. I want to get into the game specifically, though, Paul. This is an interesting one. The way it started certainly wasn't brilliant, and I think these games after international breaks are tough. Figuring out which players have come back ready to play, which players are in shape. Gabriel Magalhães, for example, didn't play the last game for Brazil, but flew all the way back from Japan. Are you sharp? Are you focused? Are you feeling your best? And there was a lot of sloppiness early in this game. And it was interesting because Fulham wound up having 29% of the ball in the first half. They really didn't have a lot of the ball. But it was one of those games where our dominance, our flow, our ability to pressure them was really undercut by giving them the ball through no real pressure, just our own mistakes, which gave them a little bit of hope. And the first half was really a half of 2 halves. So what do you think of that sort of opening 15 or 17 minutes? What's your diagnosis of what was a really sloppy start?
Yeah, I think Gabby in particular played like a guy who'd just been to Korea and Japan and came back and played that first 15 where he had like you can chop the first half up into 2 parts. The first part was us being kind of sloppy, trying to get the engine going, trying to speed up a bit. The second quarter of the game was like we started to find a bit of tempo, but they started getting injuries and going down, so it was kind of choppy. But in between those gaps, you could start to see some of our play. Gabby in particular was ropey. I think Eze had a couple of kind of loose passes in that, and those weren't when Gabby gave it away, it was central passes. So they really came at us multiple times. I think largely over our giveaways. We did let them into the game pretty quickly. But also, like, you could have scripted this, right? This was, as you said, the game after the interlull. A lot of players had been traveling. That kind of automatism's not there yet, and like you could map this game out as us hopefully getting stronger and stronger as the game went on, speeding up the play, moving the switches, finding each other. And I think that's kind of how it played out. You could basically plot this on a straight line graph to when, as we got stronger and stronger, you would expect we'd go in at halftime, tweak a couple of things, come out a little faster with the play, switch the ball, move it around, and that's basically how it played out. We got stronger and stronger as it went along. It felt an inevitability by the time, and Tim talked about it. Why was it that corner that everybody thought, oh, here it comes, whether you were a Fulham supporter or an Arsenal supporter, this could be it. It's because the play around it, right? There was just this crescendo, this momentum that was building. That was the corner, and that was the reason why.
And it is interesting. I do think that watching a lot of football this weekend, as I did, gives me more appreciation of the degree to which there is unity in the group at Arsenal, that there's commitment for one another, because so many goals are scored in the Premier League now in turnover situations, right? In changes of possession where the ball is won through a loose pass or a tackle because teams are out of their shape. And despite giving the ball away in some dangerous positions, the extent to which we flow back into our defensive shape, the extent to which players are immediately on their bike racing to recover. There was a moment I noted, Eze gave the ball away on 10 minutes, really poor central loss of possession. And Leo had a fantastic defensive recovery where he took the ball off someone right on the edge of the area to cover back into that zone because Calafiori had been rampaging forward. That's the danger of Calafiori's role, is if you do give the ball away, especially in the left side of the pitch, there's a big gap there, but there's so much commitment to recover. And I think despite those giveaways, you wind up with the second consecutive game for Arsenal allowing no shots on target, which is really a remarkable statistic. This was 1.8 to 0.4 expected goals. Clive, can we talk shape a little bit, though? And I think that there's some really interesting tactical innovations happening and changes, some working less well. To me, this looked like a 4-2-3-1. With Eze having sort of a lot of freedom in those central spaces. He was playing as a 10. Leo and Saka were playing more as they were playing out wide, but they had more license to come inside, and they were supporting the striker and Yokeres. At least that's how the shape looked a little bit to me. I am obviously a huge Eberechi as a fan and continue to be. I don't think this was necessarily a success in every aspect in his role in that zone. I'm curious what you make of that shape, that role specifically, and what maybe worked or didn't work about our midfield construction.
So what I tend to look for when I'm watching the team, there are certain people that do the same things every week, right? Centre backs, sometimes they're in the 3, but mostly in the 2, and they protect the back end of the pitch. Goalkeeper, centre forward is pretty similar every single week. And you know what? From there on in, everyone else is flexible. Right, so some weeks Calafiori is inside, sometimes he's outside. Same for Timber, but Timber does it. They normally do both in the same game, right? So Zubimendi and Rice, they double pivot sometimes they go high. One goes high, the other one compensates for him. The 10, if it's Odegaard, we know where he's going to be, but he travels a bit. Eze, we still work him out as a 10. Some of his best moments will come in the centre, maybe deeper. I think it's interesting where he finds himself being and where he feels comfortable. Sometimes I think he likes to see things in front of him. Hence why I think preferably, in my opinion, he's better from the left because he can see the whole game from that side. But I think when he's on the right, I think he's not as comfortable. So he goes central and drops deeper and then tries to manipulate the possession of play from there and then disappear second phase. So I just don't fix myself on it earlier because, you know, the Newcastle game showed me something new with Trossard playing really, really narrow and Calafiori wide. And I thought, oh, don't do that with Trossard. He's like he loses it in there. Do you know what I mean? Don't do that. And then you realise how it confused the Newcastle players completely in their most dominant space, and they didn't know who to mark. And we dominated that game tactically, and Eze had his best game for Arsenal. So I don't fixate on a particular system or formation. I fixate on the role for that day. And Calafiori is a great one to watch. Timber's a great one to watch. Eze potentially. And the rest is just very, very flexible. So I like what I see. You know, I'm not sure what made this game the one where Calafiori would be on the inside and Trossard on the outside primarily. But I like it. They can do it, you know? So I'm not concerned. Timber and Saka have just gone to a new level. What they're doing on the right-hand side is just a joke. Good luck to anybody with those two, you know? So they move off each other and they defend really well for each other. They drop for each other. They go, Timber goes inside. He goes on the outside. I mean, they just got the lot, you know? And if you put Odegaard into his team, well, the rest of the world have got a problem, right? Because he knows everything. He's read all the textbooks. You know, he knows exactly where to be. So, yeah, I just find it interesting and flexible. And I'm not fixated on a certain way yet because I still think we're developing, particularly offensively, Elliot. Because if you look at the players who are out, we've got 4 players who are out at the moment injured. Jesus, Havertz, Odegaard, Madueke. That's 4 offensive type players.
Yeah.
And so I think we're making, not saying making do, but we're working with what we have. We've still got a lot, but just give me 2 or 3 of those and we can really see some differences.
Yeah, and I kind of have a thought on our attacking firepower at the moment in light of those absences, but I want to save it for the Bukayo Saka section because I think it plays into why I am feeling so appreciative for Bukayo and his immense quality at the moment. But Paul, you wanted to weigh in on the 4-2-3-1 shape and what worked or didn't work about Eze in the 10?
Yeah, so I have a working theory. When I have these insights, I generally find when I look around, somebody's had them, 1,000 people have had them before I do, but I feel very smart. And then I find out lots of other people said the same thing. I think there's something different at the moment because we got Saka without Odegaard on that side and Eze floats around, or, you know, you don't have the same connectivity on the right-hand side. I still like it. What we're doing is Saka's basically isolated 1v1 against whoever he's playing, and he's killing them because there aren't other players in that area. You know, there aren't 2 or 3 players against Saka because Odegaard isn't there and White isn't up there. And we haven't set up base camp. And like when you have those 3 players there and Saka loses the ball, we get it straight back because Odegaard's there and White's there, and you know, your DM has pushed up and he gets it, and Saliba's pushed up and he'll pick up the ball. So we don't have that structure. On the right-hand side, it's basically we're running with Saka's isolated. And, you know, Arteta wants some balance. So on the other side, he needs more of a continuity, stability player. That's why Trossard's there, not Martinelli or somebody else. He doesn't really have somebody else at the moment, but that's why it's Trossard every time. It's more stable. He'll recycle. In theory, he takes care of the ball more, so he's slowing down that side, especially if he's going to have Calafiori bombing through. You need a guy who's good on the ball, can circulate it, and so he's looking for more stability on the left-hand side because we're going more 1v1 on the right-hand side. Saka may lose it, but it's not a problem because not the whole team isn't all pushed up forward. It isn't going kind of gangbusters charging up the pitch, and so that's to me that's an explanation why Trossard makes sense. It doesn't really matter whether Trossard has a great game or a good game. Of course, you don't want him having a bad game, but I think that's kind of the mix of stability from the left, where we used to have stability platform on the right. We get it up in that corner, we work him over. Now you got just more. You haven't fully recreated on the left-hand side, but you got more stability, more recirculation, more clever pass, don't give it away, and thoughtful intelligence, that kind of thing.
Clive?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you wanted me to discuss Eze more deeply because I don't know if I missed that part of the question, but I think what we're doing with him and potentially is we're saying Odegaard's not there, Eze plays. Right, so, and then we almost cut and paste Eze into Odegaard position, and he's not doing that. So what is he doing? And I think in this game he got a little bit lost. You know, I think he couldn't find the lanes. He got a bit lost. He got a bit squeezed out by the lack of space. And so he dropped out to where the space was. What does Odegaard do when he's squeezed out? He drops out to the right. What does Eze do? He drops out to the centre circle a little bit. You know, and it's just tendencies you have when you're under a bit of space pressure. You know, Odegaard himself says, I follow the ball a bit deeply, and he comes deeper and he gets on it. But what he's worked out is, and this is where he's smart, right? He's worked out, I'm a playmaker. I need to touch the ball, right? And when I touch the ball, I feel as though I'm in the game. Then I can reset myself somewhere else in the pitch. What Eze needs to do, he needs to say, okay, I'm playing for Arsenal now. I'll just go and get the ball. I can go and get it and do a couple of bounces, then move off again, get it back again. And I do think it's something that's been on my mind. It's the same for Yokeres as well. We've got two 27-year-olds that we've signed. But I actually think they're quite young. If you know what I mean by that, Elliot? Yep. I think they're quite young in experience in the type of football that we're playing. They're quite young. They've come into a big club, a super serious club that really wants it. And suddenly it's like, whoa, these boys ain't messing about. You know, but they need to throw that to one side and say, nah, I'm part of this. I've been signed for a reason. Give me the flipping football. Yokeres, please keep running. Don't stop running. And I think Eze, now to come to the pitch with 30-odd touches, he needs to add another 20. I don't care how dangerous they are. He has to touch the ball more. When he does, I feel really good things are going to happen. So I need to see more of him. So he needs to work a bit harder to receive it and not show a lack of psychology to say, maybe I'll let it go past me. Let Saka do it all. No. You get off him, mate. Go near him. Go bounce it. Because every time he goes near an action, he looks really good.
Yeah.
I just want to see more of it. Right? And we're talking about one game in it where there was very little wrong with what we did. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I just want to make sure. I want to see more of him because I think he's a really good player.
Well, I just found that I don't think he looked as comfortable on the right side, where a lot of his touches came from because of naturally how we play. And the change that I was looking for, because I had a feeling Marino was going to come on, but I was kind of looking for Marino to come on for Leo, and we could let Eze get out to the left side and occupy more of that left side space. But the thing that worried me, Clive, I agree, he wasn't on the ball enough, but it is the turnovers that ultimately are going to cause him issues getting midfield roles, at least for McAllister. Stay with you just for a second on that, Clive, because we talked about Calafiori is going to rampage forward, and Leo Trossard's more in the interior, and suddenly everything's kind of shifted over to the right. He comes into that left pocket of space in midfield, turns and faces, and he wants to beat two or three guys, and I like that instinct, but he doesn't beat them, and we lose the ball. And there were a couple of really good Fulham attacks in that first half that came from Eze losing possession in areas we're not used to seeing Arsenal teams lose possession. I wonder if you think that's really the stuff that Mikel's going to sit down with him and show him why you can't afford to do that. And can I just add one more layer to that? Coming from Palace would not have faced a lot of low blocks, right? They're a smaller team, mid-table, lower mid-table. The game may be more stretched. He may have the chance to play in more space and more transition. But for Arsenal, you get the ball, there's going to be 10 men in front of you to beat. There's going to be a huge cluster of compact midfielders in the center of the pitch. There's not going to be the kind of space you've maybe been used to, and he's got to be more aware of those traps that are in there if he's going to receive the ball in those pockets. So I was just a little concerned about the loss of possession, and I think that'll be an area Mikel will be very focused on as well.
Yeah, so I think Fulham didn't start in the low block. They started in the mid block.
Yep.
And what started to move them back, and it's the classic thing that you do, diagonals. Big diagonals make a team go back. Trust me. They just do. And when we got the disallowed goal, a bit after that, Fulham stepped back 3-4 yards immediately. We can't have that. Let's step back and protect our goal. It's just natural. Of course, we then change games. We go to a low block game. You can choose what your priorities are, right? So I wouldn't want to take away the instinct of Eze beating men. I would want him to keep trying to do that, because he's really good at it. He's really good at unbalancing people. I don't want to turn him into a total set play, go send it backwards and run off. I don't want to do that. I want him to keep trying that. If you can, for me, my priority, my message would be, or my development message would be, I want you to have more than 36 touches. I want you to have 50 touches, and rather than, obviously, nobody wants to lose the ball centrally. You can tell any player, professional, professional player, don't lose it centrally if you can. but his real skill is beating people. And so you want to encourage it, you want to encourage it. You just want him to succeed, right? So yeah, I think there's a few bits and pieces if you're really picking at him, which I don't want to, because he's settling into a new club and he's always been a second half season type player. I know Scott's going to fact check me, but he's always better in the second half of the season from what I remember from watching him over many, many years. So I'm not worried about him. I just want him to have, much like Yokeres, Odegaard's injury and Havertz's injury had maybe exposed him to a lot of minutes, maybe more, and I think we just have to let him settle, But while he's settling, we're winning. So I'm really okay with him at the moment. I just want him to say, I can't become the pitch with 36 touches in a game we've dominated the field tilt massively. I've got to do more than that. I've got to get on the ball more, make more movement. But what he did was great. I just want to see more of it.
Yeah, I want to move on from this. But Paul, quick final thought.
Yeah, you mentioned the Marino sub, and there's been a lot of discussion on that. For me, there was no question that it was going to be for Eze. We just scored. Fulham were going to be coming at us. The energy was going to change. We were going to be tired, leggy, potentially. And yet, we all thought, we're going to be fine. We're going to see 30 minutes to go. We're still going to see this out because we're Arsenal. That's what we do. Everybody on the pitch had to know the system. Like in maybe 2, 3, 4 months, it might be more of a question of, should you have kept Eze on there for more attacking threat, more keeping hold of the ball, etc. But he just doesn't. The reason our shape works so well is everybody knows it. Marino and Trossard. You mightn't think Trossard is the strongest defensive player, but he knows his role. He does his job, and everybody knows what they'll get out of him. Nobody at the moment knows what would happen with Eze in that system, and you want 11 players on the pitch who absolutely know what's about to happen, who's going to do what, who's going to move where, full confidence. Doesn't mean that Trossard's the perfect player, but he's fully known by the rest of the team, will do a shift. And with Eze, he might, one blink, gives the ball away in the wrong situation, hesitates to get back into shape. Now you've got this hole in, why mess around? Arteta knew he could see it out with Marino in the middle of the pitch. And Marino was fine and won very quickly in the game, started winning tackles, throwing himself around, and everybody could relax and focus and not worry if the guy who was supposed to be there was there. So I think it was an easy call.
Yeah, like I said, the Marino sub didn't really bother me. It still doesn't bother me. It was more the question of who he'd come on for, and I could have seen Eze shifting out to the left and Leo coming off or something like that. But question for you then, Paul, as a final point on this, because I think this may have been a part of it. I'm not the keenest watcher of out of possession football. I confess, as I watch football, I do tend to follow the ball a bit with my eyes, which makes it a little harder to see out of possession shape and work. We're obviously consistently referred to as the best out of possession team in football, or whether we are or not, we're up there. Do you have any observations about Eze off the ball? Because that was another thing I was watching for. And there's certain players whose body language is just sort of laconic and languid. And those languid body types sometimes can make it seem like they're not hurrying and anxious. Odegaard has a busy looking body, right? He's always pointing and moving and shifting. But I wasn't necessarily convinced that Eze was always recovering into his position out of possession as well as he could have. And, again, this is settling into an Eze conversation, but I think it is also just the case that the shape was a little bit different and there were a little bit different spaces to occupy. So I'm curious out of possession if you felt that we were getting back into position as well as we could have.
I mean, there's the before and after the sub thing, right? Before the sub, when we needed a goal, I think he was generally fine, right? He needs to learn us. We need to learn him. We were in attack mode, so we were probably going to be fine if we didn't give away other sloppy balls. Gabby giving away the ball is surprising, and that caught us out more than, say, Eze spilling the ball, which we should kind of expect is coming, and other players should be in shape. So, he is a bit fluffy, right? He's on there to attack. He's not on there. You expect him to do a shift, to do the work, and he'll get better at that. But he's never going to be the guy you keep on there to have a strong spine, especially when you put him in the 10 role and he's floating. But you have put him in the 10 role for a reason. So you have placed your bets. You're going to let him play.
Yep.
You're not going to ask too much from him. But once we scored the goal, once we were going to make a sub, that's why I wouldn't put him out left, because you still have the same problem on that side, right? If you swap him out for Trossard, you still have that problem that you put Eze on the pitch, and now the left-hand side, will he, won't he, will he make the tackle? You know what Trossard's going to do. So all known knowns once you want the shape in place, the off-ball work. You just take the guessing out of it.
There is something to be said, right? For when you're trying to hold on to a lead late and get a game over the line, using a group of players that have just been there longer and know each other better and know each other's roles more reliably, there's something to be said, because a lot of this is about team coordination. I think you mentioned it, so I'll just bring it back up. It was a stunning Calafiori goal that obviously got chalked off. Clive mentioned it, and that felt like a bit of a turning point in the half. And from there, I think we did start to come on to them more, and it did push them back a few yards, as Clive referenced. It's a beautiful ball over the top.
Does anybody hit them like that? I mean, that arcing thing where you're like, it could so easily go to the corner flag, and every time. And
he's just got great control when he.
And as soon as he hits it, he's peeling off, knowing, like, he knows immediately where it's going. I don't know anybody who hits him like that. It's
a great layoff from Trossard too. We should mention, like, Leo with a lovely first time layoff to him. It's a beautiful coordinated move, and it shows
Timber
you the advantage of having Calafiori go take up those positions. He's just a tiny bit offside, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I think we started to put some additional pressure on them, and look, early in the game, I felt we were maybe playing in the wrong areas a bit too much, building too slowly. But there's something to be said for, instead of just pushing forward and letting them get into a compact shape defensively, trying to draw them onto you a bit so that when you do go forward, there's space. And that's how we got that Calafiori chance. But to me, Clive, what starts to change this game and take over this game is that Arsenal's best player got on the ball and was just too good for the opposition. And that's Bukayo Saka. This is a Bukayo Saka game for me. This was a game that he took a lot of responsibility to try to open up and win it for us, and he was the player who was better than everybody else out there. And we remarked on this in the instant reaction, but he had 86 touches in this game. Bukayo Saka was third behind only William Saliba and Declan Rice with 86 touches. He had 6 chances created, 6 passes into the final third. He led everybody in duels. He won 14 duels. He was the most fouled 5 times. I don't think any of them were yellow cards, of course. He completed the most dribbles, 6. His corner kick opens up the game. He had dribbles where he got all the way to the goal, literally, like all the way to the goal, and they could not stop, and they're dropping off. He was getting to the byline and cutting back. He slipped in Yokeres a few times for some stinging shots, and
one is a penalty.
There's the penalty. That was not a penalty. We'll come to that a little later on. I want to put that a little further back in the pod. But, Clive, it's sort of just an opportunity to talk a little bit about what you saw in Saka's game and the level he's going to, because this, for me, was an absolute star performance from him.
Yes, I don't know if that's the first 90 he's done in a while. Maybe.
Yeah.
And again, he's not been that player and so we're getting him back, aren't we? So, of course, the natural thing in me to worry about in the next 2 games. Hopefully he's going to be all right. He put a lot of work in because he was really spare. And Fulham, to credit them, they had a really strong mid-block shape at the start of the game, and then they went to a lower block game once we started to get around them a little bit. And they dropped in and said, okay, we need to really work on this and work to being closed. And so there was always the pass free to Saka. And what he did with it was just really, really good. And without his connection mate in Odegaard, so Timber became the Odegaard player and Saka became the Odegaard player as well. So they combined as being 2 players in one. And he really made some progress down there. And what I really liked was, well, not really liked it, I like the way Yokeres uses that space to run onto those sides on the right-hand side. I really like that, which is good, which means Saka's always got to pass the feet or down those channels. I really like that. It's something that we've added. And we're getting instant shots. Okay, it's not resulted in any goals yet, but Martinelli's just scored in the last part of the game from a rebound. So yeah, we look really good there. And Elliot, we had the superstar player developing last year until he injured his hamstring at Palace, right? And we didn't get him back again really till the Champions League quarterfinals. And we've got him back now, and we've got to keep him back because we've got a lot of games coming up with no Madueke and Cutler Nationals coming up in November. So we got to make sure that we protect him. I don't know how we're going to do it because none of us want to see him not play in the next couple of games because Palace are a really good side and so are Atletico. So yeah, we're going to have to work really, really smart with him. And I think the one negative I have about his Fulham game was, although it was unreasonable from me, I just wish we could have dealt with them sooner. So we could have got maybe him off the pitch, maybe. You know, the couple of people I wanted to see not end that game. But these are first world problems, right? The fact I'm talking about that is just got to look after him in a week. So I thought he was stunning, like everybody did. Decision making, traveling with it, going over to the left. His shot from left hand side was fantastic. Way nutmeg the guy, brilliant. Set pieces. I just wish we had him at Anfield because that game still bothers me. Do you know what I mean? I wish we had him at Anfield because we win that game. You know, and got to look after him because we didn't have him last year for a long time. You know, and whatever we think about his team, we are being defined by our defensive solidity because all of those guys are fit, more or less. You know, they're all fit, ready to go. They're all good. We've all seen them. One player we haven't seen, he's really good. And we're just thinking we're okay there, but we haven't quite seen our offensive shape fully, you know, with people we can rest and change. And so there needs to be Saka's got the rucksack out for a couple of weeks. I just hope he can carry us because we need him.
Yeah, I mean, the extent to which it's just sort of been ignored that our best player, you know, wasn't fit to start against City, only fit enough for a half, and wasn't fit at all for the trip to Anfield. I mean, that does make a big difference. But on this form, he's the kind of difference maker that can change things. And you do realize how much we're missing in attack with Kai being out, Nani being out, right? Both of those and Odegaard. It just means that more of the attacking responsibility falls to Saka, and he's very much up for it at the moment. You have a lot less stress about whether Leo's good enough or Yokeres is good enough if Bukayo Saka is in this kind of form. Now, Leo got a goal, by the way, so it proved good enough. But Paul, I am so excited about the form he's in now, and it actually gets me even more excited to think about when we have an Odegaard back and when we have an Ani Madueke back and when we have Kai Havertz back, just the way he's going to lift his teammates because they all look better. And I think Yokeres' first half was a bit disappointing, I thought, but in the second half, I think he really improved. And a lot of that was Saka finding him more, combining with him more, played him in a couple of times, were some good stinging shots, as Clive referenced. So as Saka starts to get to this kind of form, I think some of the other players that we need more from, we will see them flourish because in addition to being able to score his own goals, I think he's one of the best providers for teammates in the league. So this is going to be a good sign for the other attacking players that need to get form.
I think that's right. I'll be interested to see how it evolves over the season because I do think there's something a bit unique happening at the moment in the amount of time that Saka gets to be 1v1, where we leave him more isolated. We don't crowd his space, which means he can beat one guy or one and a half guys. Maybe there's somebody trying to shuffle over there, but he's not already there marking Odegaard. He's not already there marking White. When Timber comes up, he may be more directly over or underlap in a straight line, so he brings a player with him and past him. So I just think Saka's getting a lot more time 1v1, and he's killing whoever's out there that side. It's what we used to hope Martinelli would do in the space that he would have on the left-hand side, and which he did for a while. Now you're seeing Saka getting that opportunity of 1v1, and he's killing them, which means other players can make the runs. In a way, what Saka does is a bit more predictable at the moment in that he'll go one way or the other, and if he goes to the byline, that ball's going to come in, and Yokeres can meet that. He can make that run, as opposed to the kind of the busy triangle on the right-hand side where anything could happen and brilliance might come out of it, but it's hard to time the run when you're Yokeres. Right now, you know that Saka's going to go at his man, and he's going to either come inside or he's going to go to the byline. There's going to be a cutback, a floated cross, and so he can make those runs. And I think that's maybe more aggressive, more direct from the right-hand side with Saka, and allows Yokeres to be more aggressive in his runs, more predictable. I thought this was in some ways, the best Yokeres game we have seen since he's joined the club in terms of his patterns of play and the runs he made and his aggressiveness. And I think he can see more of a map of where the ball's about to go to, the old skating to the puck. If you get it to Saka, he's going to go to his man, so you time your runs and you can key off that. And I wonder if that's part of it. It's not all of it, but Saka killing his guy on that right-hand side, to your point, opens up possibilities for Yokeres and Eze, where we haven't had to crowd the right-hand side, right? Eze can float to where the pocket is. Odegaard would be more in a structured spot. I think it allows them to get to key off Saka's 1v1 and meet the ball.
Yeah, as a final thought on that, Clive, just it feels to me, and I don't have the data to back this up, and if you look at the touch map, it's still a lot of it on the right-hand side, obviously, for Saka, but it feels to me like he has a little more license to travel. He had a couple of dribbles and I think a shot on the left-hand side of the box, and it feels like there's a little more freedom there. I wonder if some of that is, I think we have a better set of midfielders dropping deeper now. I think Timber's so strong defensively. Maybe Mikel feels he can give Saka a little more license to travel because he's freeing him up some of the defensive work, recovering back, into the sort of right fullback spaces, the right flank. But do you see him traveling across the pitch more, or coming into more of the spaces that maybe Odegaard would traditionally occupy, right? That right half space, and going there more to be the provider to Yokeres, or to just combine with the players at the top of the box more?
Yes, so I think Saka's almost doing two jobs at the moment. He's been Odegaard and he's been Saka. So
that's well
so
said,
from there you can do what you like. I don't think we'd ever stop him from travelling. I think he's in maybe last season he was definitely a fifth lane guy, and he stayed there to stretch people out. We were far more positional, and we were the full tilt champions, and we were just holding people. And so him being wide was great. But everyone knew where we were going. I do think it's important for him to move off the sides a little bit. Just to interrogate Paul's point about he's getting one-on-ones more. Actually, the first time I noticed it, he wasn't actually playing. Madueke played against Nottingham Forest, and I just couldn't believe how many one-on-ones he was getting.
Yeah.
And I'm watching it going, well, what's happening here? Seriously. And it comes down to style. And we are getting the ball forward earlier and quicker and more directly. And we're not always winning it. We're not, and I want to, the real stats conversation is how many, it's very difficult when they're so good, but how many times we give the ball away from first-time clearances, do they go to our men or not? But we are really good at sweeping up the second balls. And, Saka and Timber are very good at second balls. They lose it, they win it back. Their attacking numbers are incredible. So you're playing against unsettled defences. If you're playing against settled defences, you move around slowly around the horseshoe. Guess what? By the time you get to the other side, there's going to be two people standing there. Right? So when you're playing against unsettled defences, you're actually risking giving the ball away. When you do get it back, guess what? No one's got time to get 2 or 3 men to your best player. And if you do get 2 over, he finds a gap to go over in between it, and he runs off for a return. So this is where they're really clever. They're really clever at manipulating the space they have and recognising the players that are in front of them and when to go on the outside one-on-one and destroy Sessegnon like he did. And when to go inside or go horizontally across. He's just a really good player. So I do think the play style has changed this year. I'm not the only one to say that. We all know it, don't we? We're being a bit more direct. We're being a bit more agricultural sometimes when we get the ball forward. And that bloke, Victor Yokeres, is up there fighting blokes. He's fighting blokes for every bit of scrap. And he's not always successful. But I tell you what they have to do. They have to mark him. They have to mark him. They can't ignore him. They have to mark him. And if they have to mark him, they can't triple up somewhere else. He is pinning centre-backs every single game. And we look better for it, right? So it's just a style change. And maybe it's a style change based on the players that we have today. What really intrigues me, and I keep saying it, but Olympiacos game is in my mind, when Odegaard comes back into this group, because he is the tactical leader of this team, when he comes back into this group, I wonder what we'll look like. I wonder what role he'll take on, and where he'll go in big games when he doesn't, can't do Olympiacos, can't go where you like. What role will he take on? How will he feel the game? How will he see the game? Because he is the man, right? When it comes to manipulating these defences. So I'm very interested to see the attacking Arsenal. He's not been revealed yet, as far as I'm concerned.
Let's talk a little bit about the last stage of the game, the Yokeres performance, obviously the overturned penalty, a quick bit on Liverpool, and a quick look ahead to Atleti. So still a lot to do. And it occurs to me that in doing all of this, I have let you down, dear listener, as I frequently do. So I apologize. But it's 45 minutes in and no brands. I mean, the good news is I don't have a lot to tell you about today. But I am going to tell you about NordVPN. NordVPN.com. It's this simple. It's an app. You put it on your phone, you put it on your tablet, you put it on your computer. Once that is on your computer, anytime you get that message, this video is not available in your area, you just say what area you want to be in, and now that video is available in your area. And in football, that happens all the time. It might be a goal clip you see on social media. It might be the match reviews of the day show. It might be like what Paul sent me. There was a bit of Sky analysis that we wanted to watch, mostly to lampoon it. But I couldn't watch it because it wasn't available in my area. But I don't even think about that anymore because I just click the button on NordVPN and boom, it's available. So it just makes life super easy. It also has threat protection. A lot of us who watch the football wind up on websites where threat protection is definitely warranted and needed. And so it gives you that as well. Can't recommend it highly enough. So give it a try. And the way you can give it a try is with this phenomenal deal that Nord's given us. NordVPN.com/ArsenalVision is your way to get a huge discount off the Nord plan and 4 additional months on top. And it's risk-free with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So a discount, 4 bonus months, and a 30-day money-back guarantee. All that, NordVPN.com/ArsenalVision, NordVPN.com/ArsenalVision, NordVPN.com/ArsenalVision. Do it now, Clive. Is that enough of that?
Indeed.
Nailed it. Hey, so quickly, since we were already on this topic, do you want to just flesh out thoughts on Yokeres a little bit more? I think, Paul called it maybe his best performance so far. I don't agree with that necessarily. I think the Newcastle performance might have been better in my view. But there were certainly some green shoots here. And I think that there's this challenge you run into, which is when you praise a player, especially a player who maybe is still developing the reputation in the club, and that player's primary responsibility is goal scoring. If they haven't scored a goal, people are going to accuse you of damning them with faint praise, or that the bar, the standards are too low. He's got to score. But to me, process over results. If our players are finding his little darting runs in behind center backs, if he's getting smarter about those runs, if he's getting stinging shots off accurately at goal that are leading to rebound opportunities like the one you referenced for Martinelli, if he's doing those things, then I think process over results wise, I am encouraged, and I think that will lead to the goals coming. And obviously, had there been a penalty, he might have gotten a goal from the penalty spot. So still very early in the season. We're still learning this player. And I think that, like I said, there were signs in this game of some of the combinations working. So where are you? Are you all the way out on the spectrum of Paul, which, is a fun place to be, all kinds of rainbows and unicorns and fun things going on that end of the spectrum, or somewhere else when it comes to this performance by him?
Yeah, Paul looks at things very deeply and he looks at the actions, and I think his actions were really, really good in this game. It didn't all come off. I'm with you, Elliot. I thought Newcastle game was his best because they are the second best defence in the league. And I thought he had a really good game against those players in a very hostile environment compared to Fulham, which is a lovely place to go. Right? So I do like his movements, and we are now playing to him, but not in a charity way. I thought in some of those earlier games, we were just trying to get him in early, trying to get him going, and we were winning the games. We were just trying to get him in, get him a goal, blah, blah, blah. He didn't feel like that. He now feels like a fundamental part of the team. I just read some quotes that all the other players are talking about his kilometres covered, etc. Players really do know the numbers. They know the sprints. They know the covers. They know what's going on. They know when each other have done it, particularly physical data, which they obviously get more than we get in the real world. And they know what he's doing for the team. I know that Calafiori, for example, covered the most kilometres in this game. No surprise, given the way he was moving around. But Yokeres can't be far behind him, just his work rate. And that's so important to a team when your focal point is like one of the hardest working players in your group. And so players always give those guys a break when it comes to goal scoring, particularly if other people are looking more threatening. In this game, I think everybody faded a little bit post-international break. But I love his diagonals. I love his little laterals. I love how he reads when a player needs an exit and he gets there. When he gets there, I've got a few issues about that, Elliot. Do you know what I mean? About clarity of what he's first action and second action could be. When he gets there, is he trying to hold it? Is he trying to compete to affect the defender's ability to control the situation? Is he trying to hold it to then give it to somebody else? Or is he trying to hold it up to buy a foul? Whatever that is, I want to see it more clearly. Do you see what I mean? At the moment, I think he's wrestling too long. And while he's wrestling, he's leaning on people. And what you do as a defender, when someone leans on you, you disconnect away from them and let them fall over. Do you know what I mean? So you need to connect with them earlier and then bounce off them and separate, set your feet and see what happens from there on in. Because once you set your feet, referee will give you a break. And that's just so he just needs to develop that. I know it sounds crazy. That's why I called him young earlier. I think he's young in those aspects of the game. I don't think he's run with ball striking and running in behind. No. All those aspects, he's absolutely fine. In some of these aspects, I think he's quite inexperienced. And he needs to develop that. That sounds crazy for a 27-year-old, but why wouldn't it be? His trajectory through the football world hasn't been rounded. You know, it's come from different parts of the world, and he's really had to work hard to get here. So he's going to have holes in his game. You know, and we shouldn't be worried about that. He's got to fill them up. So I like what he's offering to us. I think at this moment in time, the beautiful path to green would have been Kai Havertz starts the hard games. He comes on for the last 20, gets all the glory, right? You know what I mean? 6 in the net. And then in the easier games, he starts, Kai comes on to save his legs so he can do a proper pre-season. That would have been the perfect scenario. But much like as I said earlier on, they're having to play and be that attacking person in our team because the other player, Odegaard and Havertz, in these two cases, are not here. So I give that player a break all day long because we need him. We don't need him putting out an injury right now because we'll be back to ball up to Marino, set the play, back from there. Everyone knows where we're going. We're going wide, and we're back to what Paul was saying earlier on about doubling up on Saka because everyone knows where we're going to go. Do you see what I mean? And I think that's what worries me the most, right? So yeah, at this moment in time, he's a 6.5, 7 out of 10. Could do the goal in this next sprint of games, Elliot. That's where I am. Or if he gets out, I'll be really pleased for him.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. Let's talk a little bit about the goal we did get, though, Paul. It's a set piece again, ole ole. We are lapping the field now in goals from set pieces. Mikel was asked about it. He said, look, we get a lot of set pieces, and it's great that we can take advantage of it. I think it's easy to just get caught up in the narrative around set pieces. And I kind of reached this point where I just don't care. I think we're clearly playing great football in all phases of play. Goals are hard to score, and we've added another way to do that leverages things we do well, like Bukayo Saka's phenomenal delivery, Gabby's dominance in the air, and the clever movement of our players combined with the coordination that comes from phenomenal training, right? And a great set piece routines. Because, by the way, Fulham had 6 corners in this game. We had to defend those corners. We defend them well, right? The work is not just done at one end, it's done at the other. What do you make of the goal and another set piece goal? And I should just mention Saka was interviewed about it. He's very self-aware. He's like, I finally put a good one in because he had a lot of really shit deliveries in this game where it didn't beat the first man, but he got it right once. That's all it took. Gabby with the header. And Leo Trossard, whatever you want to say about him, you cannot knock this guy's goals and assists record. It's phenomenal. He pops up with end product. He gets the goal. It proves to be enough, and it's set piece again.
Yeah, so I think you referenced Tim's little voice note he added to the instant reaction. It's worth listening to our instant reaction for Fulham, if nothing else for that. Tim is in with the Fulham fans, the home fans, because that's how he could get a ticket. So he was very well behaved. But he was perfectly positioned for when that corner came up. And that was the one where all the Fulham fans says, oh, here we go. Now, we'd had other corners, but this was the one where they went, oh, Jesus, here we go. They're going to score. They're like practically heading for the exits at that point. And you could kind of feel it. You got Gabriel there. And like Arsenal is very good at set pieces. But I'll tell you who's really, really, really good at set pieces, and that's Gabriel. They got 2 guys on him. They could put 3, they could put 4 on him. Doesn't really matter. His first jink, to the right, to the left, he goes around them. He's unstoppable. And like this time he goes down the middle. and he has two guys holding on to him. They're not holding his shirt, but they're pulling him back. And as he's rising to the ball, that's about the first time he actually frees himself from their two guys. He's just phenomenal. I mean, Elliot, you're in the sales business. I've done a bit of selling myself along the way. I hope he's in his contract. He went for a low base, but high commission based on goals scored, because that's in that structure. He's probably our best paid player in terms of getting compensated for those goals. He's just an absolute phenomenon. And, it's recognized. Marco Silva in his post-game review, he's going to talk about Gabriel, because it's not just our set pieces. That guy is special. He has a superpower. We know it, and we see it every time. It's a great delivery from Saka, but other players in the league can replicate. Not a lot of them, but some can replicate what Saka do. A couple can replicate what Rice do in terms of putting in those corners. Like, they can. You can find somebody else. There isn't just one player who can put in. Not a lot of them, but there's some. There is no other Gabriel Magalhaes.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
And he's absolute phenomenon. And you also referenced, how prickly we got at one point about set pieces and stuff. And I recognize that. But when we stopped caring about it was when we realized it was fully sustainable, right? It wasn't we were on a hot streak, or you assume they'll figure us out. Well, they have figured us out. It doesn't matter, because we've got Gabriel. They've also figured out there's no stopping him. They could put 3 players on him, then they'll have nobody to defend him by the time he gets to the 6-yard box.
Yeah. I do want to say, I love that you didn't confuse the Fulham manager with the Bournemouth manager, but you confused the Fulham manager with a part of the female anatomy. Because
a nodule in the boob.
the Bournemouth manager's name is not Areola. I assure you.
He is to me.
It's Iriola. Let's just for the avoidance of doubt. Clive, do you want to add anything on set pieces? I would simply add that, look, when the reason I would get anxious about all our chances coming from set pieces is if I felt that our open play performance was not good enough and we were getting by with set pieces. I don't think that's the case. I mean, this is a game, mind you, where we had 46 touches in the opposition box to their 16. We had 16 shots, right? They had 9, but none on target. We had 1.88 expected goals to their 0.4. So, yeah, if we were getting like 15 touches in the opposition box and 7 shots and scoring from a corner, I'd say, is this sustainable? Because we're not playing that well. But we're playing well. And it just so happens that when we need a goal, the set piece option is there as a way for us to find a goal in games where it hasn't fallen for us. So, Clive, I'm not anxious about it because I think we're playing well in all phases, and set pieces are just an extra weapon for us in addition to everything else.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting how the rest of the league can deal with this, because we've got so many good abilities to restart from throw-ins and corners, etc. So we're gonna cause damage because we're quite sharp. And Trossard had an air shot in the box. Could have gone in from a second phase. Set pieces give you first phase, second phase opportunities, right? If you're clever. So we're working towards that. I think there's something else deeper here, actually, which I find really exciting. Little history lesson here, but remember when we going back to the days when Vieira came into the league? No one's seen a centre mid like him, right? So, and he dominated for a few years. Other people started to go that direction. United tried with Jemba, you remember? They started to go that direction with a physical centre mid. No one had done that first. It was a trend, moving further forward. Marino came along with his defensive blocks. And then we went to the Pep era, right? So Pep came along and decided then to play out from the back. The rules had changed regarding back passes, first pass out in the box. He manipulated that well. He brought the goalkeeper in with make it a +1 at the back. And he did all these things, and everybody copied. And it was a sign of saying, you know what? They're the best team. We got to do what they do. And what's happening right now? They're looking at Arsenal. We're quite physical. We're quite a physical team. And we are a team that manages set pieces in both ends, both boxes. And although we've got progressive attackers, people look at that side of us. That's our identity. But people are starting to copy it. And it's a compliment. It's a compliment to say, this is the best way to accumulate points. So we're going to try to do it ourselves. So we're going to create a physical flaw in our team. We're going to take time over things that we can coach in our control. We are going to take time over these corners because Arsenal have shown by about 25% that it's really helping them to accumulate points. It's not the only thing, but I think it's a huge compliment to say that actually maybe we are the best team at the moment and the trends are coming towards us, right? But what used to happen with Pep's team was people would try to play like him, have 14 passes out from the back, and then they'd get robbed and stuck in their net. And we all talk about high turnovers leading to shots, right? So people were trying to do it, even though they didn't have the personnel to do it. We have the personnel to be this team. We have the personnel to play all different types of football. At the moment, we're missing out on play shots. Everyone's focusing on our set pieces. But there's a huge confidence to us at the moment happening in the league. And there's going to be a flip side to this coin, Elliot. The moment where a few boring games come along and they're set piece dominated, and Chelsea's, I think they scored 3 set pieces at the weekend. No one cares about it, right? But as soon as that happens, we're going to get blamed for this trend. And then people can say, I used to like it back in the old positional days, and we just went back 128 passes and then go back to goalkeeper. And so we just got to focus on doing what we're doing. And I would like to see us, I can't wait, I keep saying it, I'm sorry for repeating myself, I can't wait to see our attack at full power. So rather than Saka taking himself through a game at 75-80% because he knows he's got to play, I want to see him go hard for 60 minutes, then come out and Madueke comes on and goes hard. You see what I mean? And we really get more offensive power into the group. I can't wait for that. But at this moment in time, we are good at this and it's helping us because teams are not even trying to play us. They're not even moving, mate. They're not even moving. And so eventually they're going to come out of this shell. If we stay close to our goal, we're going to concede set pieces. We're going to concede anyway. Now we're going to go and press Arsenal. If they press Arsenal, we know we can handle that too. So it will change. It will change. And it will probably change quite quickly, actually.
It's so funny because I used to get mad, and I admit, full bitterness. When we first started trying to chase down City, I'd watch their games and I'd be like, well, of course City win the league. No one even tries against them. They don't even try against them. No one's trying to beat them. Because I didn't just want to admit, they're so good, teams would get in a shell and they were nervous and they'd sit deep and they'd get pushed back. And eventually they couldn't even break out. They had no hope. Their best hope was 0-0. And once it went to 1, it was going to go to 5 because they couldn't get out. But I look at it now and I get it. This was 71% possession at halftime for Arsenal. 71%. Second game in a row, the opposition has had no shots on target. You know, whatever metric you want to look at, touches in the opposition box, field tilt, defensive line height, possession, we are crushing teams back into their defensive shape. We are a boa constrictor. And frankly, it may be more fun to watch two cobras fighting, like when you watch a Liverpool game, than it is to watch a boa constrictor slowly crush its opposition. But that's what we do. It starts with some passing around the back and the defenders are passing each other. Next thing you know, you're camped in your own box and you can't get out. And so when teams do that, it's naturally going to be harder to prize them open and find a goal. And we've added another way to do it. And I just think, look, was the Liverpool United game a more fun watch than the Arsenal game? It sure was. You know who it wasn't a more fun watch for? Liverpool fans. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend we're going to be as entertaining every game as some of these other games because it's a lot of attack versus defense. It just is.
And in fact, Elliot, when Roy Keane and Jamie Carragher were discussing the games, they kind of came to that point, and I can't remember which one of them said it, but one of them said, you don't actually want your team to be entertaining the league, right? You don't want to be the most entertaining team. In effect, it was a compliment to Arsenal that what you want is a team that gets results, that maybe control. In fact, they used the term, I want more control. That's what they said. Yeah. So the things we have been damned for, partially, lightly, or heavily along the way, that's mostly I watched all the analysis this weekend with a wry smile as they talked about set pieces, as they talked about control, as they talked about, You don't want to open it up and have this wham bam thank you man game, as there's nothing wrong with getting the result that's there for you, with taking the point. It was, in many ways, it was a vindication of how we started the season, how we played with what we had, how we got the results that were there for us, and we're building steam as we go along. And I think it's a very well, it's not just controlled games. So far, it's been a relatively controlled season. I think we have really learned our lessons season after season. This team is now favourites, whether we like that or not. This team has broad enough shoulders. I think they'd be upset if they weren't favourites at this point. They'd be upset if they weren't leading the charge. We, as nervous supporters, might prefer to be tucked in, kind of one behind the leader on the show. But actually, this is a team that demands to be taken seriously, to have the top spot. Like, things will get a lot more nervy when we get to March, April. But right now, this team has earned it and have the shoulders to carry it.
I'm not as negative as you. I think the title will be won by then. But you know what? Also, isn't it nice to support the team that minds all the details? You know what I mean? Like, to be the team that minds all the details. Clive?
Oh, you guys got me thinking, really. So
go for it.
I'm just interrogating why we feel this way, right? Because I'm trying not to be deluded Arsenal fan. You know what I mean? Like,
leave that to me.
I think you never can fool people. You can't fool people's eyes, right? When they see balance in a team, when they see a balance of the physical and technical traits, when they see a team that's well coached, when they see a team that can play all facets of the game and take them all equally seriously, when they see that, you think, oh, this is quite good. You know, honestly, you can't fool people. We watched the game at the weekend, Liverpool, Manchester United. It's not to critique Liverpool; they're really good, but they're not balanced, Elliot. They're not balanced, and with those two teams, there's been an eternal search for balance, systemic balance, personnel. Liverpool had something; they've moved away from it. They're trying to find their balance again. I'm looking at Arsenal. We've got a bit of attacking depth we're lacking, but we look balanced. Everyone's role fits. It all fits like a puzzle, and we look really strong. And while we're developing and learning, we have a platform defensively by which you can always look at every single game, and Liverpool have not got that stable platform. Manchester United haven't had it. It's the first time they won 2 Premier League games in a row. Chelsea don't quite have it at the moment, although they're doing quite well with the resources that they actually have on the pitch. Tottenham don't have it, can't win a home game. You see what I mean? And we have this balance and stability, and I think it's really important. With a balance of team selection, and the one game we didn't have it, remember the Man City game when the team sheet came out? We all went, whoa, I don't quite see what I want. Because we're so used to a balanced lineup. We're so used to it. We weren't aware of some of maybe the issues regarding fitness, etc. We had less offensive players to pick even than we do right now. But we weren't having that because the balance wasn't right. But now we are balanced. And I think we're in a really strong position if we can maintain the health of going forward. But I do think we underestimate the question of how balanced we are as a team. I think we take it for granted.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, like the strategy this summer that we employed of strengthening our group so that it could last the season versus the strategy of a Liverpool, perhaps, that said we're just going to emphasize a couple of big guns in certain parts of the pitch. Right now, and it's still early, a strategy's been fully validated because we don't have Kai and we don't have Martin and we don't have Nani and we didn't have Saka. And look at where we sit right now. We've already had an injury crisis that could have derailed our season. With the start we had, we could be 7, 8, 10 points back and no wins in the Champions League because we'd be playing, and to be fair, Ethan's not Butler or Yedege and Max isn't, an academy player who can't play, but we would be putting those guys in the firing line in major games, and we haven't had to do that, and we've come away with more to show for it as a result. So I think as of this stage, you'd have to say that the approach we took, strengthening the group, adding that depth across all departments, has already paid dividends, and we're not talking injury crisis, despite the fact that 3 of the most important attacking players we have, one of our biggest signings this summer, Nani, our captain, Odegaard, and our striker the last 2 seasons, Kai, are all out. and we don't even talk about it really. I want to get to VAR. I want to get to Liverpool. I want to get to Atleti. So still a long way to go, and we got to let Paul go. So Paul, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Woohoo!
See that, Paul?
One of the things that I like that's happened this season, Clive, is we've won games where there was controversy around decisions. And as a result, it means that we don't have to be too animated about the decision potentially being wrong or the hardship of what we've suffered. And I think there's something to be said about Mikel being able to go to the team and say, you've made yourself into a team now that they can't stop. You can overcome this stuff because they can't stop you. I think that's a powerful motivating tool, but we should still discuss it because it was a talking point from the game. Bukayo Saka is barely in the box, but he's in the box.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And to my eye, I think this is tough. I have said vocally, I don't want penalties to be easy to win. You've got a guy going out of the box, not facing goal, and you're going to give him an 85% chance at a goal because of that. I don't want those to be penalties. But the reality is the guy sort of goes to ground. He reaches for the ball. He fouls the player before taking the ball. I see a knee into a thigh or a knee onto a knee, and then the ball is taken. Now, you might say, I don't want that to be a penalty, Elliot. I don't think it's a penalty. And I may say, I'd rather err on the side of it not being a penalty. But here's what I know. The ref on the pitch gave it. The contact comes before the ball is taken. It happens in the box. And so to me, if we're not re-refereeing games, if we're doing the clear and obvious error thing, then it should stay. And so, Clive, I'm glad we don't have to discuss this as a deciding factor of the game, but I find myself once again wondering, what are the rules? Because this looks like re-refereeing to me.
Yeah, a couple of things here. I mean, I'm pleased to see the way Mikel responded to it, because we don't want any distractions at the moment that are unnecessary. We do have a track record of reacting to these things, and those reactions have been blown up because it's Arsenal, and so we don't need that distraction at the moment. When you take the points, let it go. Just let it go. Let other people talk about it. And people did talk about it straight after the game. And, you said you don't want those sort of things given a penalty. The things that concern me is when little player flicks ball up, hits player's hand, penalty. Why is that? If something's been stopped from going into a dangerous area and your hand is in an unnatural position, or you've stopped a shot going on goal by making your body bigger, I'm comfortable with that penalty because potentially a goal could be scored or a chance could be created. I'm comfortable from that. But when you're in the box and someone decides they're going to slide in and take you out and risk going through you to get the ball, and they're stupid enough to do it, even though it's on the line, I don't care, mate. That's on you. You're dumb. Saka does his thing. He puts his leg across like you're taught to. He gets his leg taken and he goes down because he has to go down, otherwise his leg would be bent. He goes down and referee gives it. Really good decision, actually, because I wasn't sure. He could have thought, was that inside or outside? Maybe that's where VAR really helps him, because he could say, I think he's got a foul there. It's on the line. I'm going to give it. And if it's wrong, I'll get told it's wrong. So I quite like the way the referee dealt with that. But then he comes to the screen, Elliot, and the screen's not working. We lose momentum in the game. We need to talk about stoppages in games of football again. That's the next data we should be collecting. And we don't quite have the pictures to show us what we can all see at home. And I heard Andrew speaking about this. I totally agree with him. When I saw the contact, I thought, oh, great, it is a penalty then. I wasn't sure. Do you know what I mean? And then they look at the same, I think they look at the same things as us, and they don't give it. And I thought, oh, lads, come on. That's knee on knee. You've actually got the technology to see the contact, stop it, see the ball's not been touched yet. That means he's gone through man to get ball and gets ball thereafter. It's a very simple refereeing decision. It's quite factual, actually. So I'm disappointed they didn't stick with it, because it felt an easy one to give, Elliot. Do you know what I mean? It felt really easy. They did on this occasion. I haven't seen the discourse, ref watch, haven't seen any of that yet. See what people are saying. And I'm not going to waste my energy on it anymore, because we've got another game in 24 hours, and I'd rather focus on that. And a big game at the weekend from Crystal Palace side that look really, really strong. This stuff, we got to learn to just let it pass by us. There's no benefit. And I think the club have done really well not to make it hot. Keep it cool. Keep it cool, keep accumulating points. Just keep doing that, because then people have to look at you differently, and then maybe we'll be the team, which we haven't been for a long time. Sometimes the best team gets the breaks, right? Maybe we'll be the best team that gets the breaks, and it'll be our turn. But I don't think we've been too badly done this season. I thought Yokeres deserved his penalty. I think Saka deserved his penalty, but we won both games, so I'm comfortable with that. If we didn't, then we have to have an emergency podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, to me, there are going to be moments in the season where things go against you, where you get a call that's wrong. Every team goes through that. Winning those games means that's one less of those instances that bites you. Seems like last season, every time one of those things happened, it bit us. It was the penalty against Brighton. It was the Declan Rice, left me no choice sending off, right? It was the Leo Trossard sending off against City. Every single time one of those things happened last season, it felt decisive. We've had two of them in my mind this season, and neither time has it felt decisive or been decisive. So that's great. Let's shift gears slightly. I want to quickly touch on Liverpool and then just get out of here with a brief Atleti preview, and we'll try to do these both quickly as we start to run a bit long. But, I mean, Clive, things aren't great at Liverpool. That's 4 losses in a row, and I listened to a bit of the Arscast, and I think it was 2018 was the last time we had that happen at our club. It's never happened under Mikel Arteta. Slot starting to say some weird stuff, some strange stuff, I think you might say. But, it's not easy to handle these moments, and this is his first moment of crisis. I put that in air quotes because it's not like their season has fallen apart. But you see the theory of the case with them, where things could go wrong, the issues with their fullbacks, the potential inability to control games with the midfield, relying on Konate and Van Dijk to control everything defensively. Those vulnerabilities, that theory of the case is coming to fruition. They just cannot stop teams getting through them, and it's very easy to play through their midfield, and they've conceded 2 goals, it seems like, every game they play. So what's your take? I really enjoyed that game. I thought it was a hell of a fun time. The Maguire goal coming from a set piece with what Slot had been saying about set pieces just before the game was poetic justice, and they've got to figure things out quickly. It's not looking good for Liverpool at the moment.
Yeah, well, you know me long enough. I'm a big believer in defensive stability. From there, you can do what you like. You can. You can develop your attack. You can develop everything. But you need that defensive stability. Last season, I felt that Van Dijk and Konate was so good. They gave them something I didn't expect them to give them for the whole season, and Salah did the rest, right? So they had a core group that knew where to stand, and they were quite intense in their forward play. And this is where Diaz and Nunes are missed, maybe. Their defensive intensity in the forward line is greater than Isak's and Vert's, shall we say. And obviously losing Jota is a major problem, major issue for the club, and none of us know the impact of that. So that's me being magnanimous about their situation, but I think he's destabilised the group defensively, and he's brought very similar attackers that want to stand in the same area of the pitch. Nobody is the technical leader of that team anymore. I don't know who it is, and I don't know who the best 11 is. And so when you show people that you're not stable, people are going to attack you. And Manchester United were very direct in their movements. They got 3 attackers that were quite good. I thought Mount was quietly quite good in this game. Really smart. He's got himself fit again. Watch this player. But Cunha, mate, he's got minerals he has, and so does Mbeumo, and they really did take them on. And they scattered them a little bit back there. And they couldn't get the ball back immediately to allow them to create waves and intensity. But Liverpool did eventually go to a crazy system and get their goal and try to win the game on emotion. Manchester United stayed strong, right? So I think it's a really good game for the neutral, a really good game for people to realise Liverpool are not invincible. And we are offering a different aura this year, Elliot. We are looking a little bit more strong, right? Until, we're looking very like, crikey, how are we going to get through this lot? That's how we look at the moment. And so yeah, I'm a big believer in, as soon as I saw those fullback sign, you know what I said, didn't I? I said it very, very quickly. Fullbacks to me are one of the most important positions on the pitch, not the most, but they They provide everything for me. They tell you how well you can attack and how well you can defend, and they stabilise your group. Liverpool have got two really good centre-backs that are being destabilised by the fact their full-backs are not strong. Yokeres and Van Dijk, there's no relationship there at all. There isn't one. At the moment, I know it sounds crazy, but if I'm Liverpool, you can do a number of things. But I'll tell you what, I'll be buying a centre-half real quick, and I'll be thinking about who do I want to invest in. Conor Bradley's a wing-back for Northern Ireland, as is Frimpong, he's a wing-back. Yokeres is a wing-back. Robinson is more of a wing-back than a back four fullback. Sorry, they're screaming back three to me, mate, to destabilize the group. But you have to decide: am I going to invest in my fullbacks or am I going to invest in my attackers? When you bought 3 attackers worth nearly 300 million, you got to try to invest in them. But I can't see them finding room for them all, right? And the best attacker they had yesterday was Gakpo, and so why should he miss out? Why should Ekitike miss out? Who looks a really good player, by the way. I wouldn't mind stealing him from under them, right? So yeah, they've got some work to do. They've got some work to do, but it's almost like it's been self-inflicted by their recruitment. And but hey, look, it's still early. Let's see how they go.
Yeah, I think the problem they've got now, though, is teams are on to them, and they're going to know no matter what happens in this game, they're going to give us a chance. We're going to get a chance. We're going to have an opportunity, and that ability we have to kind of extinguish hope. Liverpool create hope in the opposition.
Yeah.
That's going to be a problem for them. The other problem, obviously, in the league, Manchester City, I don't know what to make of them, but I do know that Erling Haaland is probably the best player on the planet at the moment, just on current form. And if he's going to score 1 or 2 goals every single game, they're going to be trouble. They just are.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of things structurally with Manchester City that don't look fully right to my eye yet, but they're playing basically without Rodri. You know, maybe he comes back and gets better. Marmoush is going to come back, and he's a good player. So while I think we are probably better on the whole than City, when you have a player who can score a goal every single game, that can be an equalizer. We saw it with Salah last season. So quickly on City, is it just a case of as long as Haaland's in this form, they have to be considered?
Yeah, I saw a clip to the Everton game, and Everton had chances against them. And so they're not as stable as what the result looks like. Everton didn't take them. Marmoush is a good player. Doku's a good player. Haaland's a good player. So that's 3 attackers there that are really, really good. So everyone said, all Arsenal do is score set pieces. Newcastle game's a great example of what we can do in open play, but no one remembers what we did in open play because we scored 2 goals from corners, right? So, but Man City from 30,000 feet away, it's all about Haaland. We don't see the other attackers. We haven't seen Doku's progression and ascension to being a really good player. He was a child when he first got here. He looks much more assured now. And so, yeah, they've got potential offensively, and maybe they're not so dependent on Rodri. I think they're going to leak Elliot. I think some of their back line getting on a little bit, shall we say, and I think they're going to leak. And so, but I think they've tried to mitigate that risk by having a goalkeeper that can save anything, right? So yeah, they're going to be, they know the course, right? They know the course, and they don't respect Arsenal. That I do know. They don't think we can last. They don't think we don't know the course. We never won. So they're going to stay close. They're going to stay close. They're going to test us. They're going to test our mentality. So we just got to focus. Simple.
Yeah, I like our position. And I certainly think Liverpool have a lot of questions to answer, and it doesn't get any easier for them. I mean, it is crazy. You know, if you want to see better football, one of the things that helps you see better football is players training together more. And you play on a Saturday, having just come back from internationals. And I think we should emphasize how great it is to get a win coming back from the international break. Not always been our strength in the past. Gabby Magalhaes, a player who's had trouble coming back from international break. He had trouble coming back from this one. He was a little loose, and then he winds up being a big part of how we win it. So kudos to him, and Mikel addressed that in his comments, by the way. But then you do what? You win on Saturday. You probably have an off day Sunday. You get one training day Monday, and you're back at it Tuesday. Now we have a bit of an advantage because we'll have Palace on Sunday. They have to play Thursday. Yeah. You know, in a competition, they will probably take more seriously than what a big club might do were they in that same competition. They don't have the size of a squad to rotate heavily. So maybe a bit of an advantage there, but we have to get through this. It's Atleti tomorrow. We'll have an instant reaction for it, but just quick thoughts. One fun thing that Mikel referenced, apparently William Saliba spent time watching Atleti after the win over Fulham. Mikel was asked about that. He said, very pleased because I didn't encourage it. So it came from them. So I guess Saliba had set up a watch party, I guess, to watch Atleti. And he said, and that's the most, Yeah, on the bus. Okay.
Mm.
Said, and that's the most powerful thing, that a game finishes, the job is done, and we've done it. But now what's next, and what's the next challenge? What's the next opportunity? And we know that it's going to be a really tough one. So the earlier we start to think about it and prepare, the better. So I love that initiative from the players, and it tells you how much they want it and how focused they are on what is next. Really interesting to hear that too, because I think of Saliba as sort of a happy-go-lucky, silly guy, but this is a guy that the minute the game is over, he's watching the next opponent, and you don't get as good as he is unless you're really serious. So very cool commitment from the group. Thoughts on Atleti? They've lost one in the Champions League against Liverpool at Anfield. They battered Frankfurt 5-1. And they're, I think, currently sitting fourth in La Liga. So your thoughts?
Yeah, so I did a little watch a few of their highlights this year, and they beat Real Madrid 5-2. In that game, they played a 4-4-2. But in the game at the weekend, they played 5 at the back, which is quite interesting, right? So will they go with, is it Sorloth up front? He's about 6'100" as a big centre forward. Or will they go Griezmann and Julian Alvarez in the front two? They tend to play a 2. It feels like, for me, having a brief look at Elliot. So they've got Llorente as a right back, stroke right wing back. I have a feeling for Martinelli for this game to play against him and really run him, make him defend, not be an extra midfielder. So I like that. I think they are, what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say magnanimous to us. I'm not sure that's the right word. But in Spain, in England, maybe we are athletic. You see what I mean? We are. You mean them.
Sort of an analogous team in terms of built around a platform of solid defense.
Our identity,
maybe slightly misunderstood a bit too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's easier to. We're not Barcelona at this moment in time. We're not Real Madrid. We're closer to them in our identity, and I'm all right with it. We got a moody, intense manager. You know what I mean? Not everyone likes him, but he's serious about his work, right? And so I like it. I like the fact that we have this kingdom of Arsenal people that don't give a monkeys and are embracing who we are. More of that, please. More of it. Don't let anyone shake you. Just keep pushing this and keep developing this, because from here we can develop into anything we want to be. And so I've always liked him as a manager. I always liked Atlético Madrid. I've always liked them. They upset us a couple of years ago. The way they play, I like it. I think they're almost like they're disrupting the Real Madrid Barcelona thing, and I quite like that. I think that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to disrupt, get in there and take over and try to have a dominant space, a dominant era. So see what they do. Whether they go 5-3-2 or whether they go 4-4-2, it's going to be organised. It's going to be fiery. I think we can take it, because I think we're in better. I think we got better physicality, strangely enough. I think we've got. They play Lenormand as a centre back, mate. I'm not sure about him, and I just think we can take them physically at the back there. So let's see how we go.
Interestingly, they only have 2 clean sheets so far this season. They battered Real Madrid already once this season, so that's something to bear in mind. Thoughts on lineup, Clive?
It's an interesting one, because we have got time between now and the Palace game. If you look at this, I think this time next midweek we play Brighton. So sometimes you have to look at the games in twos, so there's a few players that are probably playing against Brighton that probably need minutes in this game. I know you might think, why are you prioritising Brighton, Clive? But I'm thinking you don't want them guys to come in super cold, all of them, and I think a couple could come in, Calafiori played 2 90s with national break. He played a 90 here where he covered the most Ks. I'm thinking I need to look after him, because I know his history, and maybe do something else at left back. I'm not sure if Hincapié or Miles. I'm not worried there, really. If I'd seen Hincapié a bit more, I would say I think he suits this sort of game, a fiery game, a physical game, up and at 'em game. So I got a feeling for him. Tim has been brilliant. I think he should start, but I think White should come on in this game. I think we should be looking at different finishers, you see what I mean, to protect people that are putting a lot of minutes. In midfield, I can't see him not playing Zubimendi.
Yeah.
But maybe, I'm just thinking it out loud, Elliot. Maybe, why am I saying it? I was thinking maybe Rice comes out. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, right? This is what the players want to play in these games.
They want to play Champions League. Yeah, I mean, they really do. Yeah.
Mate, mate, Crystal Palace is a big game. It really is a big game. It's a big game. If we can get those points there, we then roll into some of the away games. We've got to make these home games count. We roll into the away games, and we've really got a chance, because Liverpool playing Man City at the end of this block. We got a chance to really take a step, and I think we don't want to mess it up by not focusing on the league game. So, whereas in Champions League, we have an opportunity to recover it. So, I don't mind seeing a few changes. Honestly, I don't. I think we can always end the games with whoever we want to. But the important thing for me is Crystal Palace, because I want that league.
Yeah, like I said, I think we've been handed a slight edge with them having to play on Thursday before coming to our place on Sunday, and we've got from Tuesday to Sunday to recover for that game, and then a midweek game next week where I think we can and will need to rotate. So I think if you're batching these games, I think you can try to push it with the group to play everyone you need Tuesday, to then have time to play everyone you need Sunday, because that's a good amount of rest, and then rotate for the Brighton game. If that's how he wants to do it. It wouldn't surprise me if maybe Marino came in and Eze came out, but is he going to want to play Eze against Palace, or is that going to be too emotional? There could be some manipulation of the group there. I'm not totally sure. I think Miles will play, is my instinct. And yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, maybe it is a case that we start Ethan at the sort of right 8/10 and Eze gets a day off. I mean, Ethan probably overdue for some minutes, but take this game seriously. Because again, where it pays you back, if you can get all the points you need early in the Champions League, when you have the likes of Kairat Almaty in January in a very busy time, and you don't need the points and you can rotate him, and you're going to get those points regardless, right? So just position yourself where you're not scrabbling for a top 8 finish in the Champions League late. That's the key. And we're off to a great start. Let's keep it going. You got to win your home games. So I'm fine with him going whatever he regards as full strength, given that we play again on Sunday. I think we can leave it there. We'll have an instant reaction tomorrow. We'll have a power rankings this week for sure. I think it sets up nicely for that, unless something crazy happens tomorrow that's more worth discussing. I am trying to set up a really exciting interview with someone who has worked in a big club in England in a set piece capacity. So if that happens, that'll be really fun. And that'll be out on Patreon this week as my guest. So we'd love to have you there. AVP50 is the code. You get a couple of quid. You can try it out, see what you think. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Very long one. Hope you enjoyed it. Clive, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Love you. Lots of good stuff still coming. Gosh, game again tomorrow. They're like London buses. So you wait 6 years to get through an international break, and then you don't even get a breath before the next game. That's how it works. But that's okay, because we love the football. And we love you. And we will talk to you after Arsenal 10. That's letting you know.